My dear soul, come close. If you've ever felt the weight of a tired body and an empty wallet pressing down on your spirit, if you've ever prayed for healing but found only silence, or worked hard but never saw the harvest, then you need to hear this. Because there is one psalm, one sacred passage that doesn't just comfort you, it awakens you. There comes a time in every life when the body begins to whisper truths the heart has long ignored. It starts as a sigh in the bones, a tightness in the chest, an ache behind the eyes, not always a sharp pain, but a dull, persistent tug, reminding you that something inside is crying out for attention. And yet, in the noise of the world, we rush, we press forward, we medicate symptoms and silence the signs. But the soul always knows. The soul always knows when the body is breaking beneath the weight of what it was never designed to carry alone. And in those sacred, silent hours, when the world is still and the heart finally dares to listen, there lies a balm more ancient than any prescription, more powerful than any pill. That balm is the word. That balm is the psalm. The psalms were never written for performance. They are not just poetry. They are not merely verses to recite at funerals or decorate greeting cards. They are medicine, sacred rhythms sent from heaven to realign the body, quiet the mind, and cleanse the spirit. These words were born from suffering, shaped in caves, lifted in battlefields, whispered through betrayal, shouted through deliverance. And because they were born in pain, they know how to heal it. They meet the hurting exactly where they are, offering not judgment, but presence, not platitudes, but power. When your heart beats too fast with anxiety, speak the psalm. When your limbs feel heavy with depression, speak the psalm. When your back bends with the burden of bills unpaid and prayers unanswered, speak the psalm. You are not simply reading, you are entering into a divine agreement. You are giving your weary cells a new song to sing, because the body listens. The body listens when the spirit speaks. And when the spirit speaks truth, the body responds with peace. Your breath deepens, your hands unclench. The storm begins to settle, not because the world outside has changed, but because the world within has remembered who it belongs to. There is a psalm for every ailment. Psalm 91 wraps the body in divine protection like a blanket over a shivering child. Psalm 23 walks you through the valley and reminds you that fear cannot live where the shepherd stands. Psalm 103 speaks directly to the flesh and says, He heals all your diseases. Not some, all. These are not metaphors. They are spiritual prescriptions, and when spoken with belief, they become as real as any remedy. You see, healing doesn't always begin in a hospital room. It begins in a whisper. It begins in the sacred pause between pain and prayer. It begins the moment you decide that your body is not just a machine to be pushed, but a temple to be honored. And what honors the temple more than the words of the one who built it? The psalm enters the bloodstream. It soothes the nervous system. It slows the racing thoughts. It tells the heart, be still. It tells the lungs, breathe again. It tells the bones, you are safe. Not because of what is seen, but because of what is spoken. You are aligning your biology with divine truth. And in that alignment, the miraculous becomes possible. You were never meant to carry sickness alone. You were never meant to accept pain as your identity. You are not defined by your diagnosis. You are not trapped by your condition. You are a living, breathing sanctuary, and the Psalms are your sacred songs of restoration. So the next time your body speaks in sighs and swelling, in fatigue or fever, do not ignore it. Do not fear it. Sit with it. Speak to it. Declare the word over it, not in fear, but in faith. Speak the psalm aloud, not as a ritual, but as a remedy. Let it rise from your chest and echo through your bones. Let it dance across your bloodstream like a song of surrender and strength. The world may offer treatment, but the word offers healing. And the psalm, when believed and embodied, becomes the holiest medicine of all. There is a rhythm to the universe that no bank can control, no economy can define, and no stock market can touch. It is older than gold, more stable than silver, more generous than any paycheck. That rhythm is spiritual. That rhythm is divine. And until you align with it, you will chase provision like a mirage in the desert, always hoping, never holding. We've been taught to work hard, to grind, to hustle. And yes, diligence is noble, but let me tell you, working without spiritual alignment is like planting seed in dry, cracked soil and wondering why nothing grows. You see, money is not just physical, it is deeply spiritual. It responds to faith, to clarity, to inner wholeness. And when your spirit is out of order, your finances will reflect that disorder. That's not punishment, that's principle. Your breakthrough doesn't begin at the job interview or the business launch. It doesn't begin when someone hands you a loan or writes you a check. No. It begins the moment you recognize that the true source of your abundance is not in the hands of people. It is in the hands of the divine. And the divine doesn't respond to desperation. The divine responds to alignment. Spiritual alignment means you understand the laws that govern the unseen. It means you no longer see yourself as a victim of scarcity, but as a child of provision. It means you know that lack is not your birthright and worry is not your inheritance. When your soul is right, money can find you. When your spirit is at peace, doors swing open. When your heart believes you are worthy, not because of what you do, but because of who you are, resources begin to obey that truth. Let me tell you this, you cannot walk around speaking curses over your life and expect blessings to knock. You cannot entertain bitterness, jealousy, and self-pity and think abundance will feel welcome in your presence. Spiritual alignment requires cleansing. It requires releasing. You must release your need to control how the blessing comes. You must release your resentment toward others who received theirs before you. You must release the fear that whispers, "It'll never happen for me," because that fear becomes a wall between you and your provision. Do you know why some people prosper without anxiety while others drown in toil and still come up short? Because one has learned that spiritual flow creates financial flow. When you align your values, your words, your thoughts, your emotions, and your expectations with divine truth, you open yourself to be a vessel, not just a collector of wealth. Because true wealth doesn't just arrive to you, it flows through you. It serves a greater good. It builds, blesses, and restores. But it can only do that when your spirit is in position. You must remember, money is not evil, but the love of money that replaces love for truth, that is the root of all kind of ruin. When your heart seeks divine purpose more than personal power, you become a magnet for resources. Not because you're chasing, but because you're becoming. Becoming who you were always meant to be, whole, aligned, centered, awake. Every financial struggle has a spiritual root. Sometimes it's unforgiveness. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's pride masquerading as self-sufficiency. But once you identify it and realign yourself, you begin to notice shifts. Small ones at first. A refund you didn't expect. A debt that gets cleared. An opportunity that lands in your lap. But as you stay in alignment, those shifts grow. And what once felt like coincidence starts to feel like choreography. You were not created to scrape by. You were not created to live hand to mouth, week to week. But abundance will not force itself into a chaotic soul. Peace must come first. Trust must come first. Gratitude must come first. These are the currencies of the Spirit. And when you are rich in these, the rest will come running to meet you where you stand. There is a sacred pulse running through the universe, a vibration that responds not just to thought, but to sound. Thought may stir the soul, But it is the spoken word that stirs the heavens, words whispered in belief, words shouted in pain, words declared in bold faith. These are not just vibrations of the throat. These are instruments of creation, and when used with intention, they can move mountains, open doors, and call forth the impossible. Words hold power. We've known that from the beginning of time. Empires have risen and fallen because of them. Lives have been saved or shattered by a single sentence. Words are not idle, they are seeds. What you speak, you plant, and what you plant, you will harvest. But there is a difference between words that pass through the mind and words that are birthed through the mouth. Thought is internal. Speaking is divine partnership. Thought is potential. Speaking is execution. There's a reason why sacred texts declare, "Let the weak say, I am strong," not think, say. There is something in the saying that brings it to life. The universe does not respond merely to good intentions. It responds to the command of the tongue. When you speak, you are shaping reality. When you speak, you are laying bricks for the life you're about to live. You may not feel strong. You may not feel healed. You may not feel wealthy. But when you speak as if, you are not lying. You are leading your life in the direction of truth. Your words become the lamp unto your feet. They push through the darkness. They carve out a path where your eyes see no way. That's not make-believe. That's spiritual law. And yet how carelessly we speak. We curse our mornings before they begin. We say, "I'm tired," as if it is our name. We declare, "I'm broke," as though it is our destiny, not realizing that each time the tongue agrees with despair, it invites more of the same. But when you rise in the morning and say, "Today I will walk in peace," the winds hear you. When you say, "I am favored," the heavens lean in. When you say, "Something good is about to happen to me," even if your pocket is empty, you have opened a gate. That is the authority of the spoken word. It's not about volume, it's about conviction. You don't have to shout to be heard by God. You just have to believe the sound of your own voice. You must speak from a place of truth, even if the truth has not fully bloomed yet. Because when you speak it, you water it. You till the ground with your words. You give that unseen hope a place to rise. And here is the wisdom. Silence may be golden, but the right word at the right moment is a sword, a shield, a key. Silence is powerful, yes, but when it is time to speak and you hold back your declaration out of fear, you surrender your authority. Speak over your body. Speak over your finances. Speak over your children, your home, your dreams. Don't just write it in journals. Don't just think it in traffic. Say it in your room, in your kitchen, in your car. Even if no one hears, the Spirit hears. The atmosphere hears. The reason some people walk in peace while others walk in confusion is not always in what they believe. It is in what they consistently declare. You can believe a thing all day, but if you won't speak it, you haven't activated it. The seed may be there, but the water is missing. Speaking is watering. Speaking is commanding. Speaking is honoring the creative force that lives in your chest. You were created in the image of a creator who spoke light into darkness. That same echo lives in your breath. Use it not to repeat fear, but to reveal faith. Use it not to echo the noise, but to establish truth. Words are power, but the spoken word is the crown, the torch, the scepter in your hand. Before a seed becomes a tree, it must first believe in the sun it cannot yet see. Before a dream becomes a reality, it must first be held, not in the hand, but in the heart. Life does not give you what you deserve. Life responds to what you believe. The door to your next season does not open with the key of wishing. It opens with the authority of belief. You must believe before you receive. That is the sacred law. That is the unspoken agreement written in the breath of every being who has ever risen from lack to abundance, from pain to purpose, from waiting to walking. Belief is the soil in which blessings take root. Without it, even miracles will wither. Now, this kind of belief is not weak. It does not flinch in the face of delay. It does not fold under the weight of silence. It is not mere hope that flickers in the wind. It is a fire that refuses to be put out, even when the night is long and the evidence is absent. This belief is a knowing, a quiet confidence. It is when your spirit says yes, even while your circumstances scream no. You do not need to see it to believe it. You need to believe it so that you may one day see it. Faith is not bound by your five senses. It operates in the unseen, in the spaces where logic falls silent and the soul takes the lead. That's where true receiving begins. Not in the hands, but in the inner chambers of trust. You cannot wait for confirmation to believe. If you do, your life will forever be lived on the delay. Because confirmation is the child of belief, not the parent of it. You have to walk like it's already yours. You have to speak like it's already done. You have to think like you're already there. You have to carry yourself with the weight of victory, even when you're still standing in the middle of your battle. And I know the world taught you to be cautious, to be realistic, to not expect too much. But belief does not live in fear's house. Belief is not concerned with playing it safe. It stretches beyond logic. It risks looking foolish. It refuses to lower its standard just because the situation looks impossible. Because belief knows something the world forgets, that every great thing begins in the invisible. The house you desire, the peace you seek, the healing you long for, the breakthrough your heart cries out for, it already exists in the spiritual realm. But it cannot find you if your frequency is still tuned to doubt. Belief changes your frequency. It aligns your spirit with the blessing. It tells heaven, I'm ready. It tells your future, come forth. It tells your fear, you no longer have dominion here. And when you believe, truly believe, you start to move differently. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop begging and start commanding. You stop asking if it's possible and begin preparing as though it's promised. Belief sharpens your sight. It refines your speech. It cleanses your atmosphere, because what you believe, you begin to become. You don't need 1,000 voices telling you it's coming. You just need one voice inside that refuses to stop believing it already has. You are not waiting for the blessing. The blessing is waiting for your agreement. It is waiting for the signal of your belief. Not belief in the perfect plan, not belief in the absence of pain, but belief in the truth that you were created to receive. Not scraps, not survival, but fullness. So hold the vision even when your hands are empty. Speak the promise even when the silence feels endless. Rise with expectancy even when the world says, sit down. Because the moment you believe, the gate opens. The current begins to shift, and what was once delayed starts making its way towards you with power, with purpose, with divine precision. Healing is not confined to the body. It is not limited to bones mending or wounds closing. Healing is deeper than flesh. It lives in the mind, breathes in the heart, and echoes through every corner of your life. You may walk upright and smile wide, but if your spirit still limps from what it has endured, you have not yet been made whole. There are people who have never seen a hospital bed, but they are dying slowly inside. Dying from words they believed, from abandonment they never deserved, from shame they never earned. Healing is not just about the medicine you take, it's about the lies you break, the truths you embrace, and the freedom you reclaim from every story that told you you were not enough. You see, emotional wounds are often invisible to others, but their weight is heavy. A broken heart does not show up on x-rays, but it can make a soul crumble. Anxiety does not bleed, but it steals breath like a thief in the night. Depression does not bruise the skin, but it can darken every room you walk into. And if we do not name these wounds, if we do not honor the healing they deserve, we will live in silent torment, dressing up pain to look like strength. Mental healing, too, is a sacred work, because the mind is the battlefield where futures are won or lost. If your thoughts are bound, your life will follow. If your inner dialogue is filled with doubt, fear, or self-hate, then no amount of physical strength will carry you into peace. You cannot heal your life while holding on to the belief that you are broken beyond repair. You cannot grow while clinging to thoughts that strangle your self-worth. Healing requires the courage to retrain the mind, to speak new words to yourself, to forgive your past self for surviving in ways that no longer serve you. And yes, healing is financial too, because poverty is not just a lack of money, it is a wound passed down through generations. It is a mindset shaped by struggle. It is fear disguised as humility, telling you not to want too much, not to dream too big. But there is no virtue in lack. You were not born to suffer. You were not placed on this earth to scrape by. Financial healing is not greed, it is liberation. It is the ability to rest, to create, to bless others from a place of overflow. It is being able to say, I no longer live in survival mode, I am worthy of ease. When you begin to heal on every level, emotionally, mentally, financially, you begin to walk in alignment with who you were created to be. You stop settling, you stop shrinking, you stop explaining your worth. Because healing doesn't just patch you up, it raises you up, it awakens you, it opens your eyes to what you allowed when you were hurting and what you'll no longer accept now that you are healing. Healing is the reclamation of your power. It is the holy work of choosing yourself again and again. It is saying, I will no longer bleed in silence. I will no longer pretend that I'm fine while I carry invisible burdens. It is giving yourself permission to rest, to cry, to rebuild, to start over, not from shame, but from love. You are not weak because you need healing. You are wise because you seek it. The strong are not those who never break. They are those who rise again, softer yet stronger, quieter yet clearer, humble yet unshakable. So tend to every layer of yourself. Lay hands not only on your body, but on your mind. Speak life not only into your future, but into your finances. Let healing find you where you've been afraid to look, because only when you are whole on the inside will the outside begin to mirror the peace you were always meant to carry. There are sacred words handed down through time, words not made of flesh but of fire, words wrapped in breath and dipped in divine authority. A psalm is not a poem meant for moments of weakness only. It is not a script to be read in desperation and forgotten by morning. A psalm is a living conversation. It is soul language. It is medicine made of sound. But like all healing remedies, it does not work in a single sip. It must be taken daily, tenderly, with reverence and remembrance. The mistake many make is thinking the psalm is magic, a one-time charm to silence pain, open doors, or release miracles on command. But this sacred writing was never meant to be a trick. It is a tool. It is not a moment. It is a movement. A psalm is not a spell you cast. It is a space you enter, a rhythm you embody. It is a spiritual discipline, not a shortcut. A daily bathing of the mind, the body, and the soul in divine truth. When you speak a psalm, you are not just repeating history, you are returning to yourself. You are aligning your energy with the cadence of the universe. You are planting seeds of peace in the fields of your mind. And as with all seeds, one sprinkle of water will not bring harvest. One reading will not change the roots of fear embedded in your bones. One whisper will not remove decades of spiritual fatigue. It is the daily practice that makes it power. Some mornings you may not feel the shift. Some nights your voice may tremble. You may speak the psalm with tears in your eyes, with doubts in your chest, with silence surrounding your faith. But still, speak. Because the psalm works in layers, it seeps beneath the surface. It clears the dust you cannot yet see. It shapes the inner landscape even when the outer world remains unchanged. You may read, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," and think the promise has passed you by. But if you declare it again and again and again, it begins to live in your bones. Your tongue becomes trained in trust. Your mind begins to rest where it used to worry. Your heart begins to open where it once braced for hurt. That is not magic. That is mastery. The result of repetition, the reward of reverence. Do not come to the psalm as a beggar comes to a door. Come to it as a child comes to the well, again and again, knowing it will not run dry. Come with expectation, not desperation. Speak not because you're afraid it won't work, but because you know that each time you do, you strengthen the bridge between heaven and earth, between who you were and who you are becoming. Daily practice sanctifies. It softens what life has hardened. It builds a sanctuary within you that no storm can shake. That is the power of a psalm repeated in rhythm with your breath. It's not about chanting out of habit. It's about inhabiting the words until they inhabit you, until they become your response to fear, your reply to chaos, your answer to uncertainty. You will not walk in fullness by remembering sacred words only when you are broken. The psalm must be your song in the light as well as the dark, your banner in battle and your lullaby in rest. It must rise with you in the morning and settle beside you at night. Not because God forgets, but because you remember. Remember